We truly appreciate you sharing your insights and work with us this morning, and we wish you great success with this important contribution. And with that wonderful start to the day, we now move into our first panel session, setting up the tone for the conversations ahead. To invite our panelists to the stage, we have Ronika Sanadia, client partner, who works closely with the clients and stakeholders to build strong relationships and meaningful collaborations. So can we have Ms. Ronika on stage to take this panel discussion forward?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to each one of you. And what a fantastic way to kickstart the day. I'm Ronika Sanadia. I'm client partner at Dexian India. India is no longer just world's back office. It has been the global nerve center of innovation, transformation, and strategic decision making. And at the heart of this evaluation lies one powerful engine, Global Capability Center. Today, India is home to some of the world's most advanced GCCs, driving digital transformation, supply chain, talent innovation, and business outcomes across industry. At Dexian, we see this transformation up close. As a trusted partner to enterprises and GCCs, Dexian is deeply invested in enabling this next phase of growth, helping organizations build, scale, and mature their GCCs through talent consulting, leadership advisory, capability building, and future-ready operating models. Our focus is simple yet powerful, aligning talent, technology, and transformations to help GCC move up the value chain. To dive deeper into what this next phase looks like in practice, I invite you to join me in welcoming our first panel, Global Capability Center from India, the next era of enterprise transformation. Here, I welcome our esteemed panelists to the stage. First, we have Mr. Suresh MK, author, executive coach, and independent consultant. A respected thought leader in leadership and transformation, Suresh brings rich experience in guiding organizations and individuals through change, performance, excellence, and purpose-driven leadership. Next, we have Mr. Samit Shankar, Executive Director, Supply Chain Management at Wells Fargo. With over 20 years as a supply chain practitioner, Samit has led strategic sourcing, procure-to-pay, supplier risk, and relationship management initiatives, delivering over $200 million in value creation. He is deeply passionate about building functions from the ground up and reimagining efficient, future-ready supply chains. We also have Mr. Jaspreet Singh, Chief Revenue Officer Consulting at GT. Jaspreet brings a sharp commercial lens to the GCC and consulting ecosystem with extensive experience in driving growth, scaling consulting practices, and enabling enterprises to unlock value through transformation. And finally, Mr. Venkat Krishnan, Director and SMM Specialist at Fresenius. With over 25 years of global experience across organizations like EY, UBS, Oracle, and GCC Capital, Venkat is also a B20 policy contributor and G20 task force member. His expertise spans digital transformation, innovation, sustainability, and enterprise governance. Guiding this discourse is Dr. Anilesh Seth, distinguished authority in the GCC landscape. Dr. Seth brings decades of hands-on experience in building and scaling GCC for global enterprises, combined with deep academic research in the GCC space. His unique perspective bridges strategy, execution, and insight, making him the perfect person to anchor this discussion. So over to you, Anilesh, and let's give our panelists a big round of applause as we begin. Thank you.
We are standing at very interesting times. Very recently, just as a backdrop, recently we've had this mother of all agreements signed with the European Union. We've also had the US trade agreement, India-US trade agreement signed. Very recently, we've had our budget also announced, and our budget has a phenomenal layout that's been proposed for capital spending. So the foundation is set. A couple of days ago, we had the CEO of BlackRock in Bombay, and he spoke about the fact that the next 20 to 25 years are India's years. That's important. And Mukesh Ambani came later and said that in another 30 years, India is going to hit a $30 trillion GDP. The foundation is set. It is in this foundation that we are talking about GCCs. A GCC is a global capability center, a wholly owned unit set up typically by foreign organizations to build core capabilities for their own competitiveness. Today, there are 1,800 GCCs in the country, employing about 2 million people. Different projections, but it's going to grow at a phenomenal rate. Some are saying 2,500 by 2030, some are saying 2,200. At any rate, the growth is going to be phenomenal. To delve into this phenomenon that is taking place, right, we have a very eminent panel here, and the MC has introduced all of them. And the questions that we have for you gentlemen today are curated based upon your specific experiences. Right? So I'm really going to start off by first asking you, Jasprit.
Sure.
In the context of India rapidly moving towards becoming the third largest economy in the world, what role do GCCs have to play in this growth? And I don't mean just revenue, I mean any adjacencies that you can talk about. And I'm drawing upon your extensive experience. You've been doing a fair amount of consulting with GCCs, so you have a lot of exposure to this space, so you're the right person to answer this question.
Thank you, Dexian, for having me here, and thank you for having me on the panel. Very, very pertinent question. I'd like to probably go back 22 years, 23 years in history. 2002, 2003, ITS firms, we were at the same tipping point, right? We said either India could grow into one of the largest ITS, BPO, KPO, no matter what you call it, centers for the world, or also be one of the countries that ran that race, right? And that's where we saw a lot of call centers, ITS firms mushrooming towards Philippines and other areas. I think if you ask me, everybody, I think the CEO of JP Morgan Chase that also said that this is India's decade, right? Which is like technology plus decade, given the spread of growth that we are seeing in technology from an India perspective. But I think we are at a very, very tipping point from a GCC perspective, right? Are we the GCC capital of the world? Obviously today, yes. But are we well positioned to use this to our advantage? Let's be honest, the first conversation is always on a cost arbitrage basis. Within 18 to 24 months, it becomes a technology or a global value chain or any other, or a skills arbitrage that we see. So it's very important that how do we play this technology game with AI, quantum coming in? How would GCCs scale in India? I think it's a massive, massive, massive opportunity. And this is one of the core sunrise sectors that could probably propel us much faster to become a Viksit Bharat. Why wait till 2047? That's my opening comments.
Thanks so much, Jasprit. And just continuing on the same theme for a moment, and I'm going to come to you, Venkat, on a follow-up question on the same topic, really, which is, where do you see the market is, and since you've been in public policy a lot, where do you see the market adjacencies for the growth that's going to be propelled by GCCs in the country? Not GCCs per se, the market adjacencies.
Great question. Morning, everyone, and pleasure to be here. I think GCCs have evolved considerably over a period of time. Not just in terms of skills, in terms of capabilities, in terms of talent, and there has been a considerable uprise or an uptick in terms of how people have evolved, calibrated towards greater quality of work and towards providing more value for services that they provide to multiple customers. Now, that is a future path. That is a future direction, one. Two, what is it that India needs to do more? I think a lot of it will again come from policy perspective as well as from investment standpoint. That's where we stand. And I think a lot of investments are flowing in this direction. There's a lot of, uniformity in policy, standardization in policy, consistency in policy, which probably did not exist a decade ago, but it's there today. And that should be the way forward.
Great, thanks so much. Samit, now you're an executive director at Wells Fargo. And in taking a look at your background, you worked with GCCs like Diageo, JP Morgan, GE Capital, to name some. So you've got some extensive experience with GCCs. Now, in an era of geopolitical uncertainty and rapid technological change, will GCCs become an essential component of a diversified global sourcing strategy? To ask the question straight, would companies have no choice but to set up a GCC in India?
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation for this panel discussion. It's a very interesting question because, honestly speaking, all my life I've been with GCCs. I've started from the GE Capital world all the way through to Wells Fargo, where I am today. I feel personally, as we have evolved, as we have matured, every time we've reached an inflection point of whether is India relevant, I think what we've seen is we've been able to kind of go past it and actually prove above and beyond. From just pure cost arbitrage to having the best of back office centers which are based out of here, a lot of knowledge capital, by going up the value chain. I think we are at a stage now where, in my mind, the maturity of the organization and the industry is such, including our partner ecosystem, that we are able to do a lot of transformation, which is very inherent in the way Indians think. I personally believe, because of our upbringing of having jugaad and looking for the last dime, I think as an organization, and people working in that organization want to really milk the dollar to the maximum, or sweat the assets to the maximum, or make sure that the technologies which are being introduced into our ecosystem, whether it's AI or machine learning, we're able to extract the maximum out of it. So I personally believe that our future is extremely bright. Our generation and the next are very, very focused on how they can learn, how they can add value. They're very hungry. And I feel that as long as we keep that hunger appetite going, we will continue to be successful. And honestly, I don't have to say about the future. Even now, majority of the global GCC is already here. All the Fortune 500 companies, a significant portion already have set up here or are expanding. So I think it's really, really bright in my view.
Great. So the direct answer to the question of whether a company has any choice or not is what?
I think it doesn't, personally.
Any other views from anybody else?
I will just say this to your question whether they have an option. If you want to stay competitive, you have to have GCC. And my view of GCC is slightly different, one from leverage to legitimacy. So when we talk about legitimacy, we talk about trust, pushing the decisions to GCC, and managing the risks. That will be the game changer. So it is not whether I'm going to have a GCC in India. That is subtle nuance where I will say my GCC from India. There's a difference from in and from. So that's where we should be moving ahead, for which you need to have a mind shift difference from being a center of excellence or whatever capability you call to, I would say, make it a center of consequence, which means you need to own the risk, you need to own the trade-offs, and you probably need to define the risk and decision moving closer to the place where things are happening. And if that happens, obviously it is not going to be linear anymore. It has to be exponential. That's where I see the future potential of GCC.
I just loved what you said. Yeah, it's got to be a center of consequence. That's absolutely fantastic. I can see a chapter coming up in the sequel to your book. I can already see that happening, and I'm looking forward to reading about that. Jaspreet, did you want to add something to that?
So, when this entire GCC started evolving 30 years ago, this was a back office in one remote corner of the world. Like Sir said, it is now becoming a center. It's like another office in any other part of the world. But to your question, saying the companies have a choice, yes or no, I think the biggest, at least apprehension that I have, and unfortunately we've seen few cases in the recent past where there are a lot of GCCs who are also pivoting towards Eastern Europe, which is where there is a lot of new advanced tech work happening on AI, on quantum, etc. I'm talking about Eastern Europe, right? So we have to up our game in terms of, you spoke about the ecosystem, right? We have to up our game in terms of infrastructure, ease of policy making from that perspective, so that pick up any tier 2, tier 3 city. If they've opened up a GCC, you've seen that the entire ecosystem has grown. Jobs are being created, the roads will become better, the infrastructure needs to be there, right? And obviously the education has to grow with it. My only point on that is, does the GCCs have an option to set up center in India, or the foreign companies have an option to set up GCCs in India? Answer is yes. But I think the time is right now that we should make sure that we are the only option and they don't pivot towards Eastern Europe from a ease of doing business, from a ease of getting better tech talent available. That's my only submission.
Great, understood. And therefore, in this context, and I'm going to move to Venkat for this follow-up question, which is, for them to make sure that there's no choice but to come to India, has this whole thrust of tier 2 cities, where you said, Jaspreet, the whole local ecosystem is built up, etc., is that, while it helps the local ecosystem, is that more of an escapist approach because we haven't been able to build our infrastructure in the larger cities appropriately? I'm asking a very straight question. Venkat, you've been in policy making. How do you think the government should be looking at this?
Wow, that's a good punch. Few aspects. I think one, urban infra development. Two, smart cities. I think government has to revisit from their drawing boards what is it that they need to do on smart city development. Three, in terms of penetration and reach, right? If you look at not just tier 2, tier 3, a lot of smaller cities as well, is where the talent is coming from. And I'll take cricket as an example. If you look at a lot of the cricketers who are playing today in both under-19 and in the World Cup, they're all from small cities and small towns, right? And how did that talent come up? How did the talent become visible at the top levels, right? And if I have to extend it to not just the IT sector, but across the services sector today, there is a paradigm shift between Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials, and forward in their adaptability and their speed to learn, which is good. And I think that is a good way for us to move forward, right? But what happens to the talent in smaller towns and cities? I think we need to look at harnessing that talent better, right? It's not limited to GCCs in specific metros for that matter. The ability to reach across locations, across regions, will make a big difference in how the GCC play will span out in the years to come. And I'll take the Brazil G20 policy that we did on education and employment, right? If you can give me a minute. The education and employment policy that was developed in the G20 of Brazil in 2024 focuses on how the shift from the industry sector, manufacturing sector, services sector, technology sector, including space science for that matter, is adapting, changing, and growing. And that's where large chunks of talented population, right? India, China, including Eastern Europe, as Sir said, are coming to the limelight, right? And I think it's about competition, because we are bound to face competition from Europe. We are bound to face competition from Southeast Asia. How we are able to upskill ourselves matters in this whole race. And that's what will decide how investment is going to come in, not just from an education standpoint. I think we have talented people here. We have a lot of good institutions that can cover from an education standpoint. And if you look at internet coverage and penetration, which was a policy topic, we are the cheapest today on investments in internet penetration, right? And that is bringing about a lot of knowledge gain for the younger generation, irrespective of which city or town or village they are located.
Right. One interesting thing I'm taking away from this conversation, and whatever you said made a lot of sense, but one thing that I really loved, and I had never really thought about it, is the difference in agility between Gen X, Gen Y, and the millennials. And that's something to really ponder about. And maybe that's going to be another part of the leadership series that you're coming out with, Suresh. I have a question for you, which is, with Indian leaders increasingly heading global corporations, and now many GCCs house global leaders based in India, how is this leadership shift reshaping global decision-making, talent mobility, and India's role in the world's technology and business landscape?
As I said before, the decision needs to move closer to the place where the action is. I'll start with one analogy which I recently witnessed. I was in a coaching conversation with a leader, and suddenly there was an abrupt disruption, which doesn't happen that often. Someone walked in and wanted a decision from that CFO. So the CFO's first question was, okay, I'm not into the details, can you explain what happened? So that person explained. After that, he said, now you are the decision maker, you need to decide. So the decision went, and I was back into this normal conversation. So I got hold of the person who escalated to his leadership. I was saying, look, what would your decision be any different when what your CFO taken? He said, no, I would have probably taken the same decision, but the only thing is I didn't have the authority to decide. So we all have that ego or the satisfaction of making the decisions. And this is where the fundamental flaw is all about. I mean, even the Western world, why you cannot have the decision making, the judgments to happen in India? Because they all feel that control is safety, which is the complete myth in my view. So just to moving decision to India or to wherever it is, that's the first fundamental shift that needs to happen. Once that happens, then you will see as I said initially, people say, oh, GCC is my operating model. I would say GCC should be a business model where it should be part of your organization. They are first among the equals and not like in an offshore location where people, just export transactions and import decisions. So I would say you should also export decisions.
Fantastic point, absolutely fantastic. One of the things we talk about in GCC is that makes sure that a GCC is successful is what we call a collaborative operating model, and that includes decision rights. Absolutely well said. Sumit, I'm going to come to you with the next question. This is a little controversial. Right? And here is where it is. Kumar just spoke about, Anthropic's announcement, Claude 4.6. You had a huge sell-off of stocks. The stock market fell. And more recently, I saw that in the month of January, some 100 and something thousand jobs were lost in the United States. I'm not attributing that only to Anthropic, because Anthropic announcement has just happened. When you're looking at GCCs, and GCCs are supposed to be the AI sandbox, potentially the AI sandbox for the parent companies, helping in that enterprise transformation, how's that going to affect employment in GCCs in India? It's a controversial question. I said that right up front.
Again, I feel that as an organization which is based out of India, we are ultimately part of the parent organization where we are adding value in the new world is because we are a microcosm of the parent organization, we have the ability to actually test the waters on certain technologies, see whether that is something which can be done at a level where it can be made successful or fail fast, and then be able to kind of implement it across in the wider organization. So I've personally seen in my career where because of the fact that a lot of the operations are sitting in India, the ability to take decisions to be able to kind of pivot very quickly lies quite is very rapidly delivered from India, and therefore it allows us to be able to feed that back and then make the change, from a strategy perspective. Again, new technologies will definitely be coming in, and we can act as we are actually acting as that sandbox, as you mentioned. But eventually, whether it is taking the advantage of AI, other technologies which will have an impact on human resource, that will be uniform across the board. I don't believe we are in any way insulated per se, just because we're sitting in India and we offer the cost arbitrage. I feel that as an organization, if some work is really not needed, then certainly we would not want to keep the associated resources along with it. But at least in my mind, technology and its change agents can actually get implemented and tested in here, and we actually can drive a lot of that change to the parent organization. And we've seen that happening a lot in most of the banks which are now having mature GCCs based out of India.
Thanks. So it's not just a GCC phenomenon, it's going to be industry-wide is really what you're saying. Really appreciate that viewpoint. Jaspreet, I'm going to give the next question to you, which is, mid-market and lean GCCs. Now we are talking about lean GCCs and mid-market GCCs. They're expanding rapidly. How do these models differ, if at all, from traditional GCCs? And what unique value, whether it's speed, specialization, agility, do they offer to the parent organization?
Very interesting question, and I think partly was answered. I think it's all three of them. It is value, it is speed, it is agility. Today, pick up any GCCs, and you spoke about special focus on lean or mid-market GCCs. Even the large GCCs today that we have in India, right? Everybody, and it's a mixture of both the points. Let's not think of it as an office in some remote part of the world. Number one, it's part of the core strategy. It's like it's just another office outside of your parent country, right? So you're as involved in strategy and as involved in profit and loss, right? From a larger perspective, number one. Number two, with AI coming in, we've still not seen what quantum will do to this industry. I have my personal views that could probably be another level of game changer from a GCC perspective, because speed of quantum will be very, very different. We're talking about something which a supercomputer today probably takes 8 hours to do, would be done in about 10 odd minutes. Imagine the kind of compute available to us from a GCC perspective, and what can we build from here for the world, resulting in much leaner technology teams, much leaner architecture teams, and the speed of decision making would be like, you think about it and you'll have all the data required to take a decision, right? All said and done on this, I think the model will continue to evolve, and I think we'll see much more growth of mid-market and leaner GCCs, because currently, even if you look at Fortune 500, right, it's just the tip of the iceberg who've experienced India or who've experienced success in GCCs, right? I think the question has changed from saying, should we go to India, open up a GCC, to how can we go to India and what can we do once we are in India. I think that is where the new model will evolve into.
And that opens up phenomenal opportunities for organizations in India and for Dexian specifically. So appreciate the point that you brought up about quantum, because in this whole anthropic conversation, AI conversation, we forget that there is yet another tidal wave that is coming around the corner, and let's see really how that's going to unfold.
Thank you.
I'm going to be asking you, I'm going to do a rapid round right now. A question that's going to go across to all of you. Very quick, short answer, please, which is, we'll start here. Will India become the world's largest AI engineering hub by 2030? Yes or no?
I would say yes.
Yes. Okay.
I would concur. I think India will, because we really have the firepower and the ambition.
Fantastic.
I'm so sorry, don't hate me for this, but no.
Thank you for giving a contrary answer. Appreciate it.
Only reason, pick up any developed country in the world, they are teaching AI from class 5th. Fortunately, I'm in this stage where both my kids are still in school. One is in 11th. He's just been introduced to AI from a formal education perspective. We don't have AI till class 10th in any of the schools.
You bring up an excellent point, and this goes back to the whole policy making part of it. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Very important. Your answer, Venkat.
Oh, that's a action for the government. 1. 2, it has to cascade from center to state. 3, how are our public-private engineering colleges aligned to cater to this requirement? 4, how are our technologies enabled at government level that can cascade across to institutions to impart training in AI, right? And I think we are not dealing with one brand of AI per se. There are so many flavors already out in the market, right? If I look at my son, who's in college today, he used a combination of ChatGPT, Copilot, and all of that to develop his programs. And he said, I'm able to tell you what Copilot is doing better and where ChatGPT is doing better at college. Now, that is the penetration in the mindset of children in college. Right? Now, but then that's happening in Mumbai. Is that happening the way in Mumbai across the country? Points to ponder, right? Perhaps this population here can also tell, but it's also a responsibility for the government as well to answer. But if I look at it in terms of leading states in India, particularly Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra, Kerala, right, where we have a lot of talent capital, right? This is where they can really harness technology to their advantage, harness AI engineering to the advantage, right? But at the same time, it's a mixed bag. So if I have to give a yes or a no to your question, it's 50-50.
Got it. And I think we just got to remind.
Yeah. So just because Jasprit gave me a contrary answer, just reflecting on that, I just wanted to add that my yes, but again the but. The but is, it's about treating AI just not like another tool.
Technology.
So it's all about, today, like AI fixes everything. It's more like people use it as a steroid with some automation. Now it's a steroid with the bot or whatever you call it. As long as AI, our focus starts on solving the business problems and enhancing the decision, if you focus on that path, the answer was yes.
Got it. Thank you so much. I think we got a reminder that the time is up, but I'm still going to ask one last question. And this one, please, yes or no. I mean, it's a one-word answer I'm asking for, without any explanations. What comes first to your mind? Which Indian city will be the GCC capital of the next decade? Let's start with you.
There's no yes or no, sorry. It will be a network of cities.
Network of cities. Okay. How about you, Sumit?
I would think Hyderabad at this point of time is really catching up. So the infrastructure is there. It's just a question of time.
Got it. Okay. Jasprit?
At least next 10 years, Bangalore continues.
Bangalore continues. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting. We have gentlemen from NASSCOM Bangalore here as well.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting conversation over tea, I'm sure. How about you?
I would vote for both Bangalore and Hyderabad.
We're taking the middle path here.
Yes,
Yes.
safe answer.
Right? Chennai is coming up, no doubt about it, right? But Chennai has several other talents for that matter, right? We are also the global chess capital for that matter. And I think harnessing strategies that you learn from a game of chess into your business is super important, right? Having said that, and I think if I have to take, look at some of the points that were discussed this morning, if I could take a minute, right? I know we are running short of time. Innovation was talked about, speed talked about, right? What is the outcome of innovation? The outcome of innovation translates to patents, copyrights that we can file in India. Because when I engaged with the Bureau of Indian Standards, they said, the amount of filing on patents in India is so less. We need to create our intellectual property, standardize it, patent it, that we can sell for the world. And I think leveraging the innovation capability in the GCC would be the best way to go ahead in the near future.
Thank you. On that note, we'll bring the panel to a conclusion. I think we got the reminder from there. Do we have time for questions and answers? So any questions from the audience, please, for the panel?
Any questions from the audience? If you could kindly raise your hand, then the mic will come forward.
Hello everyone, my name is Rajni, I'm from Randstad. So on the last question, I have a question to the panel. The cities for the GCC, why didn't anyone say for the North? I'm from North, so I want to know the reason. Any particular reason why North did not come into picture?
Anyone?
Gurgaon, Delhi.
Sorry, my network of cities included North.
I'll just say, I'm also from North, by the way, but the infrastructure, the entire ecosystem that Bangalore already has makes it much easier for companies to come in and look at that entire network of cities, whether it's Bangalore, Hyderabad, etc. In North, we unfortunately only have Gurgaon, and we all know what's happening to that infrastructure there, right? There is very limited capacity available to expand there, and the network of education from a tech perspective available is also maybe not there as compared to what Bangalore has today, from an availability of engineers perspective. Okay. That's my personal view.
Hi, thank you. I'm Varun from Zaidview. I think I'm reflecting on one of the things that Mr. Suresh had mentioned, that we need to be a global consequence center. So I think some of the challenges that are there in big and small organizations when it comes to the GCC is the fact that sometimes when like the India GCC pushes for a lot more kind of decision-making bandwidth, it sometimes leads to gaps in trust and collaboration with the headquarters that are in the Western countries. So how do we play that balance of ensuring that we get a lot more kind of ownership and decision-making, at the same time enhancing the collaboration with the headquarters as well, trust and collaboration? Yeah.
Yeah, typically two things needs to happen. A shift in mindset that control is safety, as I said earlier. People need to start trusting more of GCC, not necessarily India, anywhere. I'll give a simple example. I think most organizations send expense appraisal to GCC or in offshore location where people submit expense and it is getting appraised as per the policy. And if there is any escalation, where does it go? It goes to the country which moved the process, right? Now, what happens there? The person whoever deciding on the exception or giving a judgment on that particular transaction is using some basis rational for doing that, right? Now, if you're able to use the similar rational judgments in India, you create the competency. Then so two things need to happen. One, that mindset's different. The other is you need to create the competency. So instead of someone, a John, making an exception, we have an Anil making an exception here, or Anita making an exception here. So that's how I see this moving. So it's about creating the competency, even the GCC, to make those judgment calls.
Thank you, Suresh. I think we're out of time now. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes,
That's
we are
the
out of
last
time.
question.
I wanted to thank the panel on the note of saying that India's GCC story is not just about cost or capability, it's about consequence. Thank you for adding to that vocabulary here. Really appreciate the exchange of thoughts. Thank you very much.
We are Dexian, in the business for good.